Yo, what is going on guys? Flashverse here and welcome back to another video on my channel, and this will be my non-spoiler review for Wonder Woman 1984 due to the release dates being thrown in left, right and center across the world, and I do not want to do a spoiler review when everyone didn't have a chance to see the film. So because of that, I will do a non-spoiler review and I won't do a spoiler review for a while. I'll probably do it once it goes on HBO Max. I'll probably do my spoiler review then. But for now, I'm going to do my non-spoiler review. But before I go over anything, however, you guys don't forget to drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel so you are aware of more DC content coming your way. So after 6 or so delays, Wonder Woman has finally hit our screens, and if you are able to see it in theaters, I would highly recommend watching it there, especially with the fact that this movie has been shot with the IMAX cameras, meaning it has various things such as larger frames. So it is really made for like a theatrical experience to really get that feel. So when you watch it on HBO Max, for those unable to obviously go to the cinemas, some frames will pretty much be cut off, like the screen will be cut off a bit. So to experience this film in like the most optimal way, then if you can, try and aim to go for the theaters. And also guys, there is a post-credit scene, so be sure to stick till the very end of the film. And again, I will go on to the post-credit scene during my spoiler review, which as I said, it won't come out for a while. Now, the first Wonder Woman movie, for me at least, was so good. It was literally perfect. So going into Wonder Woman 1984, I already knew that this movie had a lot to live up to. And going into this film, I was very excited because we obviously had Patty Jenkins once again directing this sequel as well. And she is an amazing director. However, the only difference was, chronologically, when we last picked up with Diana, we were in 1918, so World War I. Which obviously offered loads of story opportunities to play along with, and over there we got to explore Diana being new to the world since she pretty much lived in Themyscira her whole life. But going into 1984, you see that Diana is totally different. She's more close to the one that we saw in Batman vs Superman and Justice League, so she's more experienced, she's more familiar with the area, and definitely as Wonder Woman she has grown a lot as well. Now, my thoughts in regards to this film were pretty much that it was really good in a sense that it was a different take on a superhero movie. But in regards to like action for a superhero movie, it was pretty underwhelming. I'll say this, Warner Brothers can definitely handle the dynamic with Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman with Patty Jenkins behind the camera as well. Those duos, once again, they're just great. This film is shot in an absolutely beautiful way. Visually, this movie is great, and even in the very beginning, the way this film is just shot, it's just really great, and you do even see that in the trailers. So there are some pretty cool shots in this film, and the movie also does give you some badass Wonder Woman action. I'm not gonna say much, but for example, the mall scene, that one was pretty good, and then the fight scenes with Cheetah as well, that was great. And you see what she does as a traditional superhero, and it gives us a great example of Wonder Woman's superhero activities now that she's more used to the world, so in 1984. And there were obviously most people worrying about how they'd handle the return of Steve Trevor since we saw him in the trailers. And I have to say that they handled the return of Steve Trevor in a quite interesting way, and it was very relevant to the story as well, which was great. The film does a very great job in showing how Steve Trevor returns for the sequel, and his return was obviously a very important part for Diana's development as well, but also it was an integral part to the film's theme and the message that it tries to convey. And I love how in this movie where we have Diana and Steve switching roles. So in Wonder Woman 1, we obviously had Diana being the least experienced one and Steve pretty much knows everything. Whereas in this movie, we now have Diana who's more experienced with like the technology and the advancements that we had from 1918 to 1984. And now we have Steve Trevor, who is pretty much the noob. So I really like how that swapped. Now, in regards to the plot was interesting. There are some parts in this movie which was unanswered and quite lots of things to nitpick about. But unfortunately, I can't say much about this movie since it isn't out worldwide yet. So this is why I'm not going to go deep into spoilers. But when you watch the film, you definitely understand what I mean. And I don't really think the main plot adds up completely, but the main plot does serve as a pretty good issue for Wonder Woman to deal with throughout the duration of the film. The main issue really with this film is that it tries to do so much, but then it can't live up to its own ambition. So the movie has everything you'd want, but the movie requires you to process too much, and it requires you to think about lots of situations a lot. So those were things that I had to give negative points on as well. And as we neared the end, it felt like a bit too much because the middle of the film was so slow and it lacked so much action, and they needed to do so much. And when you reach the third act of the film, it just felt like a lot. But throughout the fallout of the events taking place, it transforms into a much more bigger threat, which eventually gets out of control throughout the film, which is understandable because you wouldn't expect some sort of side quest taking place over this worldwide threat. And as the movie progresses, the themes and messages of the movie obviously become more clear as well. And yes, although a superhero film like Wonder Woman is supposed to be action-packed and entertaining, there wasn't too much action in this movie. But you also have to understand that the larger thing about movies is to also take the messages being displayed to your homes as well. And this movie certainly serves as a good example in regards to what a superhero film is meant to make an audience feel. So this is what this movie does, more so over being action-packed. So in regards to this, it has a built-in optimism and hopefulness where you notice all the great things in life despite bad things happening, which is really different compared to other superhero movies, as I said before. And this movie also does do a very great job in bringing in the main plot and linking it with the characters. So when something bad happens, it shows their strengths and their flaws, and also causes them to make certain choices for their development, including our main character as well, which I really liked. Now, going into the characters, Gal Gadot is once again great as Wonder Woman, and she is just perfect for the role. I wouldn't think anyone else who could play a better Wonder Woman than Gal Gadot. Her acting was much better in this film as well compared to the last one, and she just really portrays this character of Wonder Woman so well. And one thing this movie really enhances is that she's meant to be a character that's strong and powerful. But what I love is that we also see this character have some flaws with her as well, and it does also make a great job in making her seem vulnerable as well, especially with Steve Trevor with her as well. And Pedro Pascal obviously plays Maxwell Lord, and if you guys would know him, you'd obviously know him as like Mandalorian as well. And he did do a pretty good job in the role of Maxwell Lord, and he did play the role quite well. And he is obviously one of the examples on how a villain isn't just born evil, but more so due to events taking place, this leads to them becoming evil. Maxwell Lord is obviously one of our two main villains, and although he does seem pretty interesting at the start, it does fall apart pretty quick as the movie develops, and I really wasn't a fan on how they handled him towards the end of the film. I don't know if that is just me, but this is just my opinion, how they handled Maxwell Lord towards the end. The end was probably like my most disliked part around the whole character, and I just didn't buy it. And again, with these plot holes going around here and there as well, it just makes it more frustrating. But really, despite Pedro Pascal bringing in a great performance as Maxwell Lord, I really didn't like how they handled him towards the end of the film. But obviously, since this is no spoilers, I'm not really going to say much. Maxwell Lord also in this movie, with his motivations, don't really start off evil. It's more along the lines of becoming desperate and doesn't want to seem like a loser to the world. This leads to him like becoming someone that he isn't, and leading him to doing some like very extreme stuff. And what you see with his character is definitely not one-sided where he's just like a full-on villain, but instead it's more in depth, which is really good as well. Now, for me at least, by far the MVP of this movie, Kristen Wiig, who obviously plays Barbara Minerva aka Cheetah. The fact that this character is the total opposite in regards to what she is in the start towards what she becomes later on, it was just great. Her ability to play this regular sweet person at the start and then turning into like a full-on monster towards the end, it was really impressive. The CGI with Cheetah was awesome as well. However, just like Maxwell Lord, her ending was pretty underwhelming as well. But Kristen Wiig was definitely the MVP of this movie. She was great as Cheetah. Her fight scenes with Wonder Woman were great as well. And you do see, like, you do understand her motivations as you watch this film as well. So that is pretty clear. So overall, in my opinion, this movie was not better than the first film. I still think that the first film was much better. I believe that the first one was just incredibly hard to dethrone. This movie isn't perfect. I'm talking about Wonder Woman 84. It's not perfect. It's more along the lines of like great for a different type of a superhero movie. But as I said towards the start of the video, if you're expecting something like action-packed and stuff like that, it's not really that. This is a different take of a superhero movie, and it's more so to like display messages to the audience over like being incredibly action-packed like the other superhero movies you'd think of. And really the reason why this could obviously seem weaker as well is because of how good the first installment was. The first installment is so good to a point where it makes this one look really weak when it actually isn't that weak. And again, with the first one being pretty straightforward because it's World War I. The second one, you don't really have much to explore, so they had to do their own thing with that. But that is all I'll say for this video. I will go more critical and more nitpicky obviously for my spoiler review, because I'm obviously able to like take certain parts of the movie and actually like talk about it. Whereas for this, it's really non-spoiler. I'm just giving you guys my general thoughts in regards to this movie. But overall, it was quite enjoyable and it was a different take on the superhero movie. So for that sense, it was pretty enjoyable. But for like if you expect something really action-packed, then it will be quite underwhelming for you, I will say that. But yeah guys, thanks for watching. If you guys have enjoyed the video, please give a like and subscribe. Tell me in the comment section down below what you guys think about this movie, obviously if you have watched it. And if you guys haven't watched this movie, then I hope this review really gives you like a clear idea on what to expect about the movie. But yeah, I will see you guys in my next video.